Coming up on First at 4, new information in the case of a man accused of strangling his girlfriend over a Pop-Tart. What happened in court today? Plus, the president and vice president appear together for the first time since President Biden stepped out of the presidential race. Their big announcement about lowering prescription drug costs.
And in the world of weather, we're seeing temperatures in the upper 80s and low 90s, but shower and thunderstorm chances are in the forecast. Details in a few minutes.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, an arrest in Magoffin County has one man facing charges of strangulation and domestic violence after an argument that police say started with a toaster pastry. WYMT's Buddy Forbes has the latest from Salyersville.
One Magoffin County man entered a not guilty plea today after officials say a Pop-Tart incident led to police intervention. Jeremiah Brown was arrested in February, charged with strangulation first degree and fourth degree assault domestic violence. When his then girlfriend told police he grabbed a knife and held it to her throat before throwing it down, choking her and saying, quote, "I'm going to kill you." The girlfriend said he choked her until she blacked out, and when she regained consciousness, he dragged her to the door and tossed her out. She told troopers the entire incident began because of a Pop-Tart. Though he was released after the initial arrest, Brown was arrested again on an indictment earlier this month and conferenced into the courtroom from the Big Sandy Regional Detention Center today, where he pled not guilty. He remains in custody on a $10,000 cash bond, expected to return to court in November. While Brown's attorney did attempt to have that bond reduced, the judge determined he is still a risk and kept it at $10,000 cash. In Magoffin County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
An informal pretrial for Brown is set for November 18th, and a formal pretrial will take place December 10th. Some good news for Eastern Kentucky during Governor Andy Beshear's Team Kentucky news conference this afternoon. He announced several counties will receive a portion of more than $23 million in funds from the Eastern Kentucky Safe Fund to help further flood relief efforts. He also announced people whose ability to work was impacted by the Memorial Day weekend storms this year now have a chance to apply for assistance.
Who are living or working in the area and became unemployed or had work interrupted as a direct result of the Memorial Day weekend storms, you are eligible to apply for disaster unemployment assistance benefits through the Kentucky Office of Unemployment Insurance.
Governor Beshear says the deadline to apply for disaster unemployment assistance funds is October 9th.
Well, if you have the WYMT First Alert Weather app, you just received a notification saying that there's a sneak peek of the weekend in the forecast on there. Make sure you download the app to check that out. Numbers for today in the upper 80s, even low 90s. Prestonsburg and, well, Monticello was in the 90-degree club. Irvin is at 90. Moorhead is at 90. 89 in Pikeville. 87 is the current temperature in Clintwood. 10 cooler in Wise. 88 in Jonesville, as well as Harlan, Hazard, and Manchester. Same story in Somerset. Dew points right now still in the 50s and 60s, low 70s towards Monticello. So overall, not bad in terms of humidity. It's very comfortable out there across portions of eastern Kentucky. And right now, all is quiet on live pinpoint Doppler radar. But starting tonight across portions of the area, going into tomorrow and Saturday, we'll start to see a little bit of a workout. Next 12 hours keeps temperatures in the mid-70s by 1 a.m. going into the 5 o'clock hour. But short term, we'll see temperatures in the upper 80s by 5 p.m. 9 p.m. will go to 80. Then by the time you join us tonight for Mountain News at 11, we'll see temperatures in the mid-70s. I'll have your complete First Alert forecast coming up in a few minutes. Steve.
All right, Eric, thanks. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are detailing progress in their fight to rein in the soaring costs of prescription drugs. Their event in Maryland today was the first time the pair has appeared together since President Biden stepped out of the presidential race. CBS's Bradley Blackburn reports from New York.
We finally beat Big Pharma.
President Biden and Vice President Harris were all smiles as they announced Medicare has negotiated new lower prices for some major prescription drugs.
No senior should have to choose between either filling their prescription or paying their rent.
It's about peace of mind. It's about security.
The new prices will kick in 2026, a process that's taken years. The 2022 Inflation Reduction Act, narrowly passed by Congress, made it possible for Medicare to use its leverage with drug makers. The drug list includes 10 widely prescribed and costly medications that treat cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and blood clots.
My cardiologist said, would you rather have bruises or be dead from a stroke?
Reverend Kurt Miner was diagnosed with asymptomatic atrial fibrillation and prescribed one of the drugs, the blood thinner Eliquis. He says he uses a Canadian pharmacy to avoid paying costs of up to $500 a quarter on his Medicare Advantage plan.
I only have to do this silliness and this end around thing one more year, and then hopefully Eliquis will be much more affordable.
According to the White House, the new prices could save taxpayers $6 billion in 2026, while Medicare enrollees will save $1.5 billion in out-of-pocket costs.
This is a win-win for everybody across the country.
The AARP's Bill Sweeney says more drug prices will be negotiated in the years ahead.
Medicare can start getting a better deal for the American taxpayer and for seniors who are paying the highest prices at the pharmacy counter.
What kind of difference would that make for you?
Give me more money to blow on the grandkids.
Starting in 2025, out-of-pocket drug costs will be capped at $2,000 a year for people with Medicare Part D. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
A report on mortgage rates out today has new insight for prospective homebuyers. It's especially true when it's paired with yesterday's good news about inflation. Yesterday's Consumer Price Index report shows less than 3% growth for the first time since March of 2021. Analysts say that means the Federal Reserve is likely to reduce interest rates at its next meeting. Such cuts often lower mortgage rates, and even expectations of them can have an effect.
Know that borrowing rates are going to come down 6 months from now, a year from now. That house that you may have had your eye on is probably going to become a little more affordable.
Mortgage rates are different than housing prices, and those have been stubbornly high. The CPI report shows they rose 0.4% from June to July and more than 5% over a year. Still, analysts say such costs can lag behind other inflation improvements, so good news could be down the line. Coming up on First at 4, Taylor Swift heads back on stage in the UK, and security is tighter than ever. How police plan to protect Swifties after a terror threat canceled 3 European shows last week.
And in the world of weather, we have rain and thunderstorm chances picking up some places starting tonight. Details on the First Alert forecast in a few minutes. Stay with us.